How is how is everybody doing? Positive and productive, I hope. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me. Hey, do me a favor and share the content with friends, family, anybody that you think the content is relevant to. Remember, local elections are more important than national elections, but dollars are stronger than votes. They won't stop until we stop them. Liberation comes at a cost. Who's willing to pay for it? Before we jump into the video, ladies and gentlemen, if you are seeing this on YouTube, do me a favor and please drop a purple heart in the comment section. It really does a lot to support the channel and to support the content, and recommend it to like-minded people who may also appreciate the video. Without further ado, jumping into this, ladies and gentlemen, really quickly, you know, sometimes I see videos and I tell myself this would make good content. I possibly could do some content and maybe critique it, do some expounding upon it, etc., etc. This is one of those times, and I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to do content. It would make for good content. I'm not going to do it. Then there was a few things that were said. So one of the things that I want to showcase right now, and hopefully I got it queued up properly, but I want to show you guys, and maybe you guys won't hear it or see it, but I want to show you guys in real time how somebody will easily make a false equivalency, and this is why they are justifying or denying something in real time. So just really quickly, let's jump into this. So, and then let me preface this. So Tukay was on the panel and he's talking to some people about religion and about God and various things like that. So the conversation had been going on for a few moments already. We're just at this particular part. I'm gonna play this part. I'm going to expound upon this part, and then we might even go back to even listen to it. Like I told you, I knew this was going to make good content.
Oh, yeah.
That's happened multiple times in modern times.
And God sent them back.
How do you
Yeah, nobody do.
Apparently.
Yeah, okay. Alright, so yeah, man, don't believe me, okay? Hey, don't believe me, alright, cause fucking with me, the person who you love dearly, and you know, the person that loves you dearly will burn your ass for eternity if you don't praise him, okay? That's real love, all right? It's kind of equivalent to your mama sticking your ass in the oven for not cleaning your room. But what do I know? what do I know?
Now, did you catch that right there, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But I want to break that down. And it was funny. It was hyperbolic. I like to do it a lot too as well. But here's the thing. This is where the logic falls in it, right? Because he said, God, if you don't love him, he's going to stick you in the fire forever, in eternity. That's like the equivalent of your mother putting you in the oven, burning your ass in the oven for not cleaning your room. Well, how is loving God the same as not cleaning your room compared to your mom? Like, do you understand what he's comparing? So he's comparing a one act of disobedience to a lifelong commitment to disobedience, or to a lifelong commitment of non-acceptance. So now what if he was to say, that's like if you denounced your mother and called her a bitch and told her she ain't never did shit for you, she probably would try to kill you, right? Because now if you put it to that extreme, especially in the black community, we've all heard parents say, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out, right? So the same thing with God. It's telling you that I've made heavens, earth, and the universe, and I've made a lot of different things. I didn't make this for you, but if you cannot agree, if you cannot obey my commandments, because I've already destroyed the world before. So if you cannot obey my commandments, I will condemn you to the place where I'm condemning everything that I disagree with, that don't follow my will. So there was just a few other conflations. So hopefully you guys heard that, and this is what happens, I think, a lot of times when we start having a religious conversation. That's number one. People start making false equivalencies, and then two, when we're having these religious conversations, a lot of times people like to be extremely hyperbolic, to be funny about the conversation, but not ever to actually substantiate their point. I just want to be funny, make you laugh, and I'm kind of throwing you off of your subject or the point in which we're actually trying to prove. So let's jump back and let's listen to a little bit of this. Ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely blasphemous. I'm not going to lie to you. It's extremely blasphemous. So let's jump back and let's listen to just a little bit. Let's just listen to a little bit.
Could you use up to $800? Find it at BioLife. Up to $800 is waiting for you.
Or did they have some
Gotta support the ads, ladies and gentlemen. My grandmother always told me free lunches are not free. Somebody has to pay for those.
Indifferent.
I'm not sure. This your example.
Right. In my example, they didn't have that's what I'm telling you. So in my example, they didn't have anything wrong with them after that at all. So I can't call it a misdiagnosis. I have to call it that it was a divine intervention.
Okay. All right. Okay. Y'all, bro, this dang, bro. I hate when my smart fellows just be to me, it's really, 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 really disheartening to think that you get up and do what you got to do every day, but you give your praise to a invisible nothing. It's
everything.
It showed me the belief that people really have in themselves. They can't even believe what they're doing.
Brother, you can't see oxygen, but you know that air exists.
Well,
you can't see gravity. You can't see gravity, but you understand that gravity exists.
I know.
So I just don't understand how people, if you know that there are things that happen that you cannot explain, nor can you create, nor can you recreate of your own well-doing, why would you not give credit to the Most High God?
No, absolutely not. First of all, oxygen can be seen, not to the human eye. Okay? Gravity can be felt. You just can't see it. Okay, there's a gravitational pull that you can feel. Get on any roller coaster, you can feel gravity. You can see oxygen if you get it in a lab and you can break it down into molecules and all above. You just can't see it. So that's not saying
you
that
just can't see God, but I see God every
you
day.
don't see God. You can't tell me what God looks like.
Day.
God came
looks
to
like me, you, Fabo, my mama.
No, it don't.
My
if that's the case.
And I don't know the gentleman's name. He's actually doing a good job. I would have brought up some other points. But Tukay brought up a good point. I'll give him that. He said, well, you can see oxygen, put it in a laboratory under certain conditions. We can feel gravity, different things of that nature. And then this is what I would argue. I like the point where the guy was making, but he's coming from a biblical perspective that we're made in the image of God. So when you see people, when you see man, you see God, you see the image of God. We'll get into that maybe at a whole later date and time. I think the better argument would have been, well, if you look at it from the right conditions, you can see God and feel God. So when you say that, like the man almost said, there's certain things that you cannot recreate. So me personally, merch, I would have told the man, no matter what laboratories you get, no matter what conditions you get, you cannot create water. Man cannot do that. Man can theorize about it, but man has never done it before. So now when you say, where is God at? I'm going to tell you the things that man cannot create, the things that man cannot do on his own or replicate. Man cannot, without a female egg, one, man can't even make that. That's number one. Man can't make a sperm, a gamete. So I see a sperm cell. Man can't make those. Man can't make eggs. So when we're saying that, oh, he made an artificial womb and the different things, okay, he made an artificial womb, not an artificial egg. Understand the difference. A place that will incubate and hold. So there are a few different places where we look, and then realistically, where I'm going to always go to this, ladies and gentlemen. Then I would say, if you actually look at what God says he is, God actually exists and we see him every day, because God said, I am, therefore I exist. I don't have an ending or a beginning. I am the Alpha or Omega. Well, if we look at energy in its purest, rawest form, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So therefore, when God proposes or makes the position that I just am, that I just exist, energy in its pure, truest, rawest form just is. And we can't understand where it came from, where it started, because from the understanding law of thermodynamics, the first law of conservation, energy can't be created nor destroyed. Well, if energy can't be created, where the hell did it come from? If it can't be created, that means it just always was. which is a whole different paradigm within itself. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we can go even one step further. Then if we look at the most abstract example of this, and you go to the most smallest molecular level, then we can get into something antimatter, black matter, and a whole different things. And actually, it's already theorized that they've already found something called the God particle. But we're not even going to go that deep right now, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have to go that deep right now. So why did they call it the God particle? Because it's the particle, or if we're understanding it from an actual physics perspective, that this is the particle, or the smallest piece that we understand, that, like God said, omnipotent, omnipotent, I am everything, everywhere. This is what we understand to be. Everything fundamentally. If you were to take even if you took a vacuum and you say there's nothing, so there's something called the nothingness of space. Understand, there is never nothing. So we can get too far lost in the weeds, ladies and gentlemen. But just like Tukay said, you put it under the right conditions. I can see oxygen and these various things. Well, under the right conditions, I can see God. And under the right conditions, no matter what you believe as a man, there are certain things that you cannot create. So therefore, from that perspective, I have to give omens and I have to give omens and credence to the Creator, because I know from man's perspective, we can never do it. So something higher than me had to have done it. Let's continue.
God would have came to a nigga as a burning bush.
My cousins.
God would have came to a nigga as a burning bush. If God was us, why this nigga talking to bushes?
Well, some people believe he manifested himself to people through Jesus, right? That's what some people believe.
Listen, man, this is y'all.
So let me get this from this. When your disconnect.
And just real quick, the burning bush. So some people don't understand, what allegory is, and they don't understand the context of a parable or a metaphor. But maybe you've never had an epiphany. Maybe that's never happened to you before. But sometimes you can see something that's really not related to your problem. But when you're looking at this thing, then all of a sudden the answer to your question or to your problem comes, and you just have this epiphany. Eureka. Never mind. You don't know about the gold.
Nick became with Christianity because you wasn't always like this. So what happened to make you say, I'm done with it?
I told you, I got a doctor's degree when it comes to common sense. No, I'm serious. The first time I challenged this God theory, I was like 13, and I got beat right back into Christianity, right? So next, I go to college. Well, not college. I go to...
And just really quickly, our experiences in life, because they say the best experience, and they say the best teacher is experience, and sometimes they say the best advice is free, right? So maybe two things can be true at the same time, not two conflicting things. So I think what happens is that our experience shape our outcomes and our perspective on life, and perspective changes perception depending on where you're looking at it from. So again, neither here nor there. Maybe it's on X, maybe it's on Rumble. Again, you guys are not even subscribed. But here's the point. Tukay made something an interesting point. He said, I had these questions and I was beat back into the church. So understand the negative connotations that's associated to his experience with religion and or Christianity, probably specifically Christianity, right? So, and I think what we're not understanding is his experience. So he possibly could be suffering from some type of a religious trauma as a child when he had certain questions. Maybe the people who were in his life were not adequate to answer the actual questions that he had, and they resorted to violence. They resorted to means of persona non grata, for lack of better term. And so maybe his experience in the instance of learning religion had a lot of negative connotations associated with it, specifically violence and trauma attached to it. So therefore, this is why he's now learned to avoid certain questions, especially when it pertains to logic, metaphysics, and now attaching these things to religion. Let's continue.
The military, right? And then when you get to travel abroad, you get to see all this other stuff and wonder why God not showing up for these people in these countries like he's showing up for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait, why that baby get to starve to death and they believe in God, but my kids get to live? It's a abundance of bullshit that you just realize, like, hey, this got to be a lie, or we not serving the same God, because there's no way.
That happens a lot.
Well, now, do you understand? Tukay is actually answering a lot of his own questions right there. And I'm sorry that nobody actually was able to give him these questions as a young man, because it seems like he was very interested in a lot of these different things and he just didn't get the answers that he was seeking. So listen, he said, well, why is God allowing this to happen? Well, in a lot of instances, we don't know why God allows certain things to happen. Because some people, now it comes to the grace of the salvation. It's almost like the nurture versus nature argument. Well, in a lot of religious contexts, especially in Christianity, some people will say that you're saved by salvation. Some people may argue you're saved by grace. Some people may argue it's a little bit of both. We're not even going to get into the weeds of that. But Tukay just said maybe we're not serving the same God. Well, we already know that that's not true. Or we know that that is a true thing in itself right there at face value, because we know that there are multiple religions. So if I'm a Christian and you're a Muslim, right there, we can argue that possibly we're serving the same God, but at face value, because we have different names, different orthodoxies, different idioms attached to our religious practices. So because of these dogmas, it could easily be argued that maybe we don't represent or worship the same God. You're Jewish, he's Hindu, Taoism. And then even within these respective religions, they have various sects within them. So now it could easily be argued that perhaps we are not worshiping the same God. It could be argued that we are, but I think it's more evidence to easily substantiate the claim that we are not, based on how we do the things that we do in our religious practices. And then another thing, when I hate the fact that, so here's the thing that we have to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. God is all knowing. God is love. I'm not going to tell you that God is not all loving. And what do I mean by that? Does God love all? Yes, he does. Is God all loving? No, he is not. God has wrath. God has vengeance. God is not this fucking liberal utopian thing that they're trying to make you point out, that because God loves you, you can do no wrong and he'll never whoop you or chastise you and everything is just going to be peaches and cream and butterflies and hunky-dory and the world is going to be good, and if you fall, you're not going to damage your knee and the lion not going to want to eat you. And no, the real world exists. Like, I don't understand this fantasy world that we have to portray God in, that nothing wrong. Like, listen, this is what I told somebody. If you're a mammal, if you are a warm-blooded animal, understand something. The way the world is set up, because we live in this duality, we live in this place where we have, understand just what we have right now. We have something called, I was going to go into a funny little joke, but I'm not even going to do it right now. So I was going to tie into something to the LGBTQ community. I'm not going to do it. So, but listen. So, because if you're a mammal, something has to die in order for you to survive, right? Because then you could say, no, Chusta, I don't have to. I could be a vegan. I could just eat plants. I don't have to eat anything from an animal. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I've seen this already, but they actually were able to look on a cellular level and watch a leaf actually breathe oxygen, or carbon dioxide, because plants don't breathe oxygen. They breathe in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. But they were actually able to see, it was called transrespositor, I don't know, I can't even say this shit. It was a big ass fucking word. But they were actually able to watch a leaf open up on the cellular level, the carbon dioxide come in and actual oxygen come out. They actually saw a leaf breathe, ladies and gentlemen. So we know plants are alive. So why, when people say something has to die in order for you to live, then you want to say, no, I'm a vegan, I'm a vegetarian, as if we don't attribute plants as living organisms? Why don't we say plants have feelings, ladies and gentlemen, when we know that plants that live in a microbiome will actually share nutrients with each other? Where plants can actually say, hey, I'm not getting enough sun and enough different things like this in their root system, similar to like like mitochondrial. What's the other one that they have? When the mycelium, similar to like a mycelium network, they share resources and infrastructure with each other. So why can't we know that not only plants are living, we understand that they are intelligent. Matter of fact, plants are so intelligent that not only will they share resources with each other, the older plants will prioritize resources to plants that are like their kind before they allocate resources to other plants. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you guys scientific facts here. So when you guys start talking about a lot of this stuff right here, this is when we say, listen, there is a creator and there is an order to this chaos theory. We understand it. We can't make sense of it all, and we don't understand how it all comes to be, but we can understand it from the perspective that because there's just two sets, A and B, people don't want to say that, you know, why do we have to be in this binary? I'm not going to make the joke, ladies and gentlemen. I promise I'm not going to make it. But because we understand, why is it that when you look at most living organisms, in order to reproduce, there's only two different pairs to reproduce, male or female? Why in nature isn't there a third sexual species that reproduces with its own self? You got males that reproduce with females, and then why isn't it there's other species that reproduces with it, you know, this other subset, sex within itself? Why doesn't that exist, ladies and gentlemen? Because we can now see the creation, the design of creation of design, however you want to phrase it. But when we look at everything is set up in a very similar binary path, this is where we start to understand God. And then moreover, we're going to continue with the video. I'm not even going to play too much more of it. Also this, we're not even going to get into all the stuff with NASA, right? We're not even going to get into all of that. But why is it that when most people who are astronauts, especially people that believe that they're agnostic or atheist or various things of that, so we're not even talking about the religious people, but why is it overwhelmingly the majority of people that are astronauts who don't have any religious orthodoxy or dogma, when they do go to space, when they do come back, they now have some type of a religious orthodoxy or dogma that they attach themselves to? Look into that, ladies and gentlemen, because we can say, oh, what you said, it's fake. They operate under the water. Okay, well, we're in the upside down already, so up is down and down is up. Stupid, you don't even know that the water was separated from the top and the bottom. Nigga, when you go into space, you're going into the water anyway. Y'all don't know that. Y'all don't know. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. I'm not even gonna. It's not liquid water, stupid. It's in another state. It's in another form. So let me get this straight. When you put the pot of water on the, when you went to go boil the pot of water and it was full of water and your dumbass forgot you left the pot boiling and now there's no more water in there and you see a little bit of steam coming off, what are you gonna tell me that steam is? You telling me that steam ain't water? So now when the fly flew through the steam and his dumbass fucking died because all of the condensation and it was too hot, are you gonna tell me he flew through the steam or did he fly through the water? Which one did he fly through, stupid? You don't understand, it's the same shit. Water, steam, ice. It's the same thing in different forms. And this is why y'all don't have a concept of understanding it. Because you think that because the ice melted and then I boiled it, the steam is not the fucking ice and the ice ain't the water. It's the same shit. What is wrong with y'all? And that's why when he told you energy cannot be created nor destroyed, you didn't understand what he was really telling you. God exists. When God told you, I am, therefore I exist, therefore I am. You didn't understand that. You didn't understand it. Now we have to ask ourselves a million questions. And have you ever seen the snake when he eats his own tail? We've all seen him do it, but have you ever seen the ending of that story? As always, stay positive, stay productive. Remember, local elections are more important than national elections, but dollars are stronger than votes. They won't stop until we stop them. Liberation comes at a cost.